And with that, we welcome you all inside the Cave, 96.5 FM, and of course, 965thecave.com. If you venture outside of our local listening area, good morning again. Ian Went, John Roberts with you till 9 o'clock. I feel like it's almost been a week since I've been in here, because it has.
Yes,
last
it has,
Thursday,
for you.
Yeah, for me. And you've been no stranger. You were on Sunday morning, Monday. Took the day off yesterday. We'll cut you slack for it, but glad you're here today. A lot of stuff to get to. My leftovers coming up after the update. Siena Heights basketball. They had a couple games last night. And NHL top 10. It's been a couple weeks. We'll update you on that. Our power rankings for the National Hockey League. And then we continue the hockey conversation in the 8 o'clock hour with Coach Adam Krug and Coach Sean Skelly for Adrian College Hockey. So a jam-packed show for you today. Let's get things going. We have a sports update, and then, like we said, I'll get to my leftovers, and you're going to like it. If you're a college basketball fan, you'll like it. So let's get going.
Now for an Inside the Cave sports update.
All right, let's start with boys. High school basketball. It was Madison 53 to Morenci 44. Blissfield continues their winning ways over Hillsdale 63 to 45. Clinton edging out Onsted. That's a bit of an upset.
A little bit of an upset there, yes.
56-54. Erie Mason over Britton Deerfield 54 to 41. Michigan Center beats Addison 65-27. Good win for Sand Creek as they beat Summerfield 57-51. And in the listening area, we have Saline 58 to Pioneers 34. Girls high school basketball, Onsted over Clinton 52 to 8. Maya Hiram with 23 points, 12 boards. Kate Gorney and Kayla Ross with 8 points. Tecumseh and Madison went to overtime. It was the Indians on top, 39-31. Blissfield over Hillsdale 62-16. Saline 58 to Pioneers 34. Final night of the regular season for the Siena Heights basketball men and women. They would both lose to Indiana Tech. For the women, it was a struggle shooting throughout the night. They scored 5 points in the first quarter. They would pick up the offense later on, but it was not enough. Kelsey Wyman led the Saints with 15 points in the 55-37 loss to Indiana Tech, and it was a case of both teams really not shooting particularly well, but the Warriors were victorious in their efforts. And for the men, it was a home loss to Indiana Tech to finish out their regular season. Their season in general, they are done for this year. It was 84-67, and there was no Kevin Rice and no Curtis Bell III for SHU, two of the top scorers on the Saints roster. After the game, I had a chance to talk to Coach Sue Silgerbeck, the women's coach. She's frustrated that their top player was not a major factor offensively.
It's like we lost track of that we have Peyton on the team and only give her 6 shots. I mean, I had to beg them every time out. We're like, put the ball inside. Now, we knew they were going to double, and sure enough, they did, and then she got it tied up. But we just have to understand to get the ball inside sometimes, and especially to our top players. And sometimes our teams, struggles with that, especially when Indiana Tech was trying to take her away.
And for the men, Coach Joe Pashota, despite the loss, he was rather upbeat.
I think we can definitely, grow from tonight. I thought we made good film, good teaching film, good focus film, moving forward into the spring, that's for sure.
And again, the men dropping their contest at home, 84-67. The difficult start to an abbreviated season continued for Lenawee United Tuesday by virtue of a 9-1 loss to Bedford in an SEC crossover game. Tuesday in Toledo, Lenawee was outshot 37-9 for the game. They've suffered 6 straight losses to open up their season. So, they're not getting shut out, but it's still a struggle in year 2.
And especially on the offensive end to score goals. Kind of like the Red Wings.
Ouch. Siena Heights football, they kick off their season Saturday in a noon start at Dawson Field, taking on another ranked team, their nearest rival, Concordia, Michigan, up in Ann Arbor. Coach Matt Cohn tells us it is a bit strange to start the season this time of year, but they can't wait.
It is, you know, and we're very, very fortunate to be able to be playing football. You know, there are people across the country that didn't have this opportunity, so we're really excited to be able to go out and play this Saturday. Again, it's kind of weird timing, as you mentioned, but we're kind of past all that. We're past the weirdness. We're kind of grown accustomed to the weirdness a little bit, as everyone else has, and we're just really looking forward to getting back out on Doc Dawson Field.
And that was Siena Heights Saints football coach Matt Cohn. SHU comes in ranked 19th in the country. Concordia number 16. So really starting the season off strong. You can hear that game here on 96.5 The Cave Saturday at noon.
I think they were flipped too in the preseason coaches poll. I think Siena was ranked just ahead of Concordia. So it should be an interesting matchup too. At least what people perceive to be a close matchup.
Yeah, Saints have been in a lot of tight ones over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Michigan State basketball, they may have possibly saved their NCAA tournament hopes in an upset win. It was Aaron Henry, 20 points. Joshua Langford, 15 points. A career-high 16 rebounds for him. Michigan State, an 81-72 win over number 5 Illinois. The Spartans earned a desperately needed quality win to bolster their chances of playing in 23 straight NCAA tournaments. The Fighting Illini had won a Big Ten Best 7 straight, putting them in contention for a number 1 seed in college basketball showcase that will start next month. And it was really checking the highlights last night. Spartans really in control that entire game. Did Illinois sleepwalk? I don't know. Maybe I'll talk about this game in my leftovers.
Ooh, teaser.
Yeah, it was the Detroit Pistons. They got a win, snapping a 3-game streak with a 105-93 win over the Magic. Detroit, they're 3-14. They won for the first time since February 14th. Nashville Predators beat the Red Wings 2-0 in their game last night. And in the big national news story, authorities say there's no immediate evidence that Tiger Woods was impaired in a crash that left him with multiple fractures in his right leg. His surgeon said the 15-time Grand Slam champ had multiple open fractures to his lower right leg. The surgeon said a rod was placed in the tibia, while screws and pins were inserted into the ankle. At a news conference, the police chief and fire chief of Los Angeles County did not answer follow-up questions on how they know he wasn't impaired or how fast he was driving. Weather was not a factor in the crash. Sheriff Alex Villanueva and Fire Chief Daryl Osby said Woods was conscious and able to communicate when authorities arrived to pry him from an SUV on Tuesday. That car rolled over. He was taken to a hospital in serious condition. His agent said he underwent leg surgery. The deputy who first responded said Woods was alert and able to respond. He also said the location was prone to accidents. That's going to do it for the sports update for the 7 o'clock hour. Be tuned in at 8 o'clock and we'll update you again on all things sports here inside the cave.
Yes, we will.
Man, that news broke yesterday afternoon, and it's been the talk.
Yeah, it has. Even this
world.
morning, driving in, some more updates, and we'll probably talk a little bit more about that as things are coming out this morning regarding the surgery. Some more developments. It's going to be a while before Tiger Woods plays golf again.
Right?
Yeah, if.
And that's the conversation,
yeah.
I think, is if you will.
Yes.
Before I get to my leftovers, I do want to point out that we are streaming the show today. We're on Lenawee Broadcasting Company's YouTube channel. I posted the link on our social media. That's Facebook and Twitter. So go to 96.5 The Cave. on Facebook and or Twitter. You can find the link there and you can transport yourself inside the cave. All right, I do it every Wednesday. Stuff that happened maybe over the weekend or Monday that I didn't get to, but I need to have an opinion on, and I feel like you people need to hear it. So let's go. It's going to be more recent. I'll get to Michigan in a second, but I mean, the big win last night for Michigan State, and it was a game that Illinois should have been up for. I mean, they're chasing Michigan for number one in the Big Ten. That's all but gone. And they're a team that's looking for a number one seed. With Ohio State losing to Michigan, if the Buckeyes slip up again, Illinois could go up into a 1 seed. They got beat. State beat them.
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't even. I mean, it was like an 8-point lead up to 16, hanging out around 10, and Illinois they just couldn't do anything.
Yeah, State was in control almost from the get-go of that game.
And who saw that coming? I didn't. I mean, they got the win in Indiana. All right, that's a good win. That's a quad 1 win. Indiana's a tournament team. You beat them on the road. No fans. Be it as it may. You needed to win. That started. That win now started against Indiana. And it rolled over. I'm not saying State's now a favorite to win the Big Ten tournament. No, they're still not. They're trying to play in the big dance, and they understand that. They had a good game plan on Kofi Coburn.
Mm-hmm.
In just watching the highlights. They put Kofi at the free throw line. They weren't letting him get his normal, easy, we'll call him, plays.
Right.
He got his fair share of dunks and putbacks
Sure.
and all that. Held him to 13 points. They weren't going to let Coburn beat him. And he struggled from the line a little bit.
Yeah, they defensively, as you mentioned, watching the highlights and watching the scroll across the bottom of the game and following on Twitter last night, they never let Illinois get comfortable offensively, I think. And I think that was a real key to the game is they made Illinois uncomfortable and trying to do what they're not best at doing, which, no surprise, if you do that, you're going to win a lot of basketball games.
Exactly, yeah. Take the other team out of what they do. I did not expect it. No. I was happy with the Indiana win.
Yeah.
Good win. You
Yeah.
lose that, you're basically done. But come back and win that game. Beat Illinois. Okay.
Now they
You
got
got a
Ohio
little
State
something.
tomorrow night.
There's opportunity
Yeah.
out in front of them. You have Michigan twice, Ohio State.
Then Maryland and Indiana,
Maryland,
which
Indiana.
are both winnable games the way they're playing right now. I mean, a couple weeks ago, we may have not have thought those were winnable games the way they were playing then.
No. And I'm not buying in completely, people. I want you to realize that. I'm looking at this game right now. I'm a big Aaron Henry fan. I think he's the most consistent Spartan. He played almost the entire game, 39 minutes, 20 points for Henry, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Rocket Watts kind of took over at the point, and that's something this team has missed dearly, just desperately, with no
Yes.
Cassius Winston,
Mm-hmm.
and that makes sense. It's a rebuilding team. I mean, you're getting rid of Winston and Xavier Tillman, one of the better big men in college basketball. You go back to when they beat Duke in the tournament. It was Tillman on Zion Williamson.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
he did his part against Zion. So this team took a long time to find itself. They had a pause due to COVID, got into the team, and, you hope for the sake of the state of Michigan basketball and the Big Ten that State is competitive, and to get that win last night was huge. Spartans shooting 54% from the floor, 50% from 3. Illinois struggled from deep, 29% shooting there. And from the free throw line, they put Illinois there 34 shots and they only made 19. That's 56%. And that was part of the Coburn. What did they call that when teams would foul Shaquille O'Neal on purpose?
Hack-a-Shack.
Hack-a-Shack. That's the vibe I got, watching the recap. That they hacked the shack. And I'm not getting crazy here with what State's going to do. Like you said, they have Ohio State, Maryland, Indiana, and then 2 with Michigan.
I think it's highly improbable, not impossible, but highly improbable that they win out. There's just too many good teams left on their schedule. But I could see them being above 500 in those last 5 games. Will that be enough to get them into the Big Ten tournament? They would be under 500 in the conference if they go 3-2, let's say.
Yeah.
And they would be 3-2 would make them 15-11. I think they would have to win a couple games in the Big Ten tournament, maybe 3 to get in at that point. I don't know that 15-12 and let's see, 3 they'd be 9-11, 2 games under 500 in the conference. They would have some wins in there that would be good resume wins within the conference.
Right. Now let's say you go out and you split with Michigan.
Yeah.
And that third win is, let's say you lose to the Buckeyes. So you beat Michigan, Maryland, Indiana.
Yeah.
Is that 3-2 enough? I mean, that puts you at 9-11
right.
in the conference.
Right.
I think the Big Ten's the best
basketball
basketball conference in the country.
I do too. And, I go back to their non-conference schedule. They beat Duke, which is starting to look like a better win every game. For a while there, it looked like, maybe that's not such a great win this year.
True.
But as Duke plays better and as Michigan State plays better, that might be a little better win on their resume. You've got Notre Dame on there, but Notre Dame's not very good this year. And then you've got Eastern, Western, Oakland, and University of Detroit. So they don't have a strong non-conference schedule, but a lot of teams don't this year because of COVID. They played such an abbreviated or no non-conference games. So, it's
You're looking at
not impossible, but I think it's improbable at this point. Without a deep run into the Big Ten tournament and finishing above 500 in their last 5 games.
At that point you're looking at, okay, what's a quality win,
Mm-hmm.
what's a bad loss?
Yeah.
So you go through the season, what's a quality win? Probably beating Rutgers the first time, quality win.
Yeah, because Rutgers is ahead of them in the standings.
You got a quality win at Indiana.
Yeah.
And then Illinois. You got a bad loss by 30 to Rutgers.
Yeah.
Lost by 30 to Iowa.
Yeah.
But, Iowa's
Good.
Iowa this year.
They're good. I mean,
you got a Northwestern loss early on.
Got beat by 25 against Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah, that Northwestern loss is a terrible loss because I looked at the standings. Northwestern's on a 13-game losing streak.
Yeah.
They started out 3-0 in the Big Ten and lost 13 straight.
So State needs to keep it going.
Yeah.
But this certainly puts another good win on the resume
no question.
for
No
the green
question.
and white. Something I didn't expect to talk about today, John.
Yeah,
I was talking
think,
to Fred, even during the game, and he's like, "Oh, State's up by 10 or whatever." I go, "No, they'll turn into State."
Sure.
I'm not bought in after Indiana,
Right.
and they proved me wrong. So
Well-
go out and do it tomorrow against Ohio State.
Yeah, if they beat Ohio State, they'll have a lot more believers in their corner. That's for sure.
Right, you go 4-1 in these last 5.
Yeah.
Different conversation.
Yeah, no question.
Before we get to break, finishing my leftovers, my God. Michigan is the number 1 team. You could argue number 1 in America if Gonzaga and Baylor played anyone. Michigan has a slip up in conference.
On the
One
road.
game.
On the road, too. And Beat them at
It was
home,
early.
lost to them on the road. Yeah.
Like, that's what was the stat? They hadn't won in Columbus since like 2014.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's coming together in this wacky, weird season. The one thing that's consistent in our lives right now is Michigan basketball.
Yeah. Who'd have thought?
It's a top 25 win. It's a road win.
And
I don't know what else to say. I mean,
yeah. Looking
you're
at their
dumb to
schedule.
doubt this team right now.
Yeah. I have a lot of faith in them. You know, they've got some challenges ahead of them, but they also have the comfort of having really a 3-game lead in the standings. They're 11-1. Illinois is next at 12-4, and the Big Ten is going to use winning percentage to determine the champion, because not everybody's going to play the same amount of games because of COVID layoffs and things like that. And so, you know.
So the rescheduled games were the Iowa, Michigan State, Illinois?
I believe
or was
so.
Iowa
Yes.
scheduled before?
No, because I think Iowa might be not a reschedule, because they haven't played Iowa yet this year, and I can't believe they wouldn't have played them at least once. Illinois is a reschedule, and the second Michigan State game is a reschedule. So that leads me to, well,
I mean, that's an
or was
interesting
I
scheduling
thought they
decision.
rescheduled 3 games. Well, I might have to look that up during the break, because they didn't play Indiana yet this year either, and now they do. So, but yeah,
They
that's
added 3 games.
yeah. But you know, the 2 with State will be tough. You know, I think they're the better team, and they're both playing really well right now. So a split of those games wouldn't be surprising. Neither would either team, I guess, winning both of them. I mean, you know, Michigan's got Illinois at home, and they've got Iowa at home, and they've got to go to Indiana, where that's always been tough for Michigan to win at Indiana. So I don't expect them to go 5-0 in these last 5 games, but you know, if they go 3-2, they'll probably win the Big Ten regular season.
Right. They got help from that school up north.
Yeah,
How
a
about
big
that
one
win
is
over
to beat
Illinois?
Illinois.
Yeah.
If they beat Illinois, that'll just about lock it up, I think.
Yep. So, you know, Michigan coming off the pause, they go to Wisconsin and win, come back home to Rutgers, and they kind of escape. They were our
Yeah.
lock of the week, but
Yeah.
you know, they got the win. Rutgers isn't a pushover.
Scrappy bunch.
They're like a top 30 team. I mean, they've been right around that 25
Yeah.
spot all year.
Yeah,
And then you go beat Ohio State, and
it was a really good game. Both teams played really well. I mean, you could see why they were 3-4 in the country.
oh yeah, and the Buckeyes only slipped 1 spot, I think. They're at 5, or they might have stayed at 4.
In some polls they're 4, and some they flipped with Illinois. Yeah.
And I don't know, is there like a Midwest bias, like that Michigan's not number 1? Like if Gonzaga had a loss, would they still be number 1?
No, I
Or
don't think
Baylor.
Gonzaga would be, but then Baylor probably would be if they're undefeated, because they're both undefeated.
But I'm saying, like, if they were in Michigan's shoes.
No, because I don't think they have. I don't think they play the conference schedule that Michigan was. They play some good teams non-conference, but generally those are neutral site games too. They're not true road games.
So, I mean, you can argue that Michigan's a 1, like the 1 in the country,
Could be.
despite a loss.
Yeah, I thought they might get some votes after that win.
Did they get a vote?
They did in the coaches poll, but not
Okay.
in the writers poll. The darn media, what do they know?
Yeah. I mean, you want to talk about putting motivation into your locker room. You know, it's tough when you're up at the top. You know, how do you stay motivated? You know, we're
Right.
beating everyone, blah, blah, blah. Hey, they still don't respect you. People out there don't think you're in consideration for a number 1, the number 1. It's February basketball in the state of Michigan.
Yeah,
We have life. State, join the party.
yeah.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back with more Inside the Cave, our NHL top 10 teams coming up later in the show. But we're continuing the conversation here inside the cave. Ian Wendt, John Roberts. We'll be right back.
Well, they did it. Martha and Sam switched their home and auto insurance to
welcome inside the cave here in Adrian, Michigan. Ian Wentz, John Roberts with you on 96.5 FM. And if you're not in your car, you can tune in online, 965thecave.com for audio only. If you want to jump in on the live feed from our YouTube channel, just go to Lenawee Broadcasting Company. The link is also on our Facebook and Twitter, so give us a follow on both, and you can just jump right inside the cave. Happy to have you with us on a Wednesday morning. It was a busy night at the field house. Yours truly and Fred Smith calling a doubleheader for the Siena Heights basketball teams. We'll start with the men for a season in review. They lost last night to Indiana Tech, 84-67. Indiana Tech ends their season, regular season, 9-2 in the league, and the Saints fall to 2-9 in the WAC. Both wins in conference over UNOH, but kind of give a game summary. Two of their leading scorers for the Saints did not play, Kevin Rice and Curtis Bell III. Talking to Coach, it was his decision, Coach Pashota, to not play those two. They missed their point production, but the effort was there for the Saints. They were pestering Indiana Tech all game long, though they didn't have the height to match up with the Warriors or the seniority. You know, it's tough when you've got freshmen and sophomores out there going up against juniors and seniors. Even at the college level, it matters. And Siena would keep the lead, you know, right around 8-12. So they were always within striking distance to get things done. But certainly a tough loss and a season that a lot of people did not expect Siena to compete in the upper part of the WAC conference. They finished, I think, a little lower than they were projected to, but you know, to get the season played, to play the amount of games they did, and you know, they got blown out maybe once or twice. That's the other thing. You know, they're not getting run off the gym night in and night out. And the Saints played really well last night. Aiden Wright had 17 points. Elijah Kimmons was 16. Wright's a sophomore from Ipsy, and Kimmons is a freshman. You know, they lead your team in scoring against Indiana Tech. I thought it was a valiant effort for the Saints, but a season in totality that, you know, just happy they got the experience.
Yeah, and you know, anytime you're playing a bunch of younger players, it can be a struggle. I mean, you know, in the history of basketball, there's very few teams that have been freshman and sophomore dominated that have been great teams. And so, you know, Siena Heights, they have a lot of expectations in basketball because they've had a strong program for decades. And, you know, you're going to take a step back every now and then. And I'm sure, you know, you're going to bring some new guys in next year. But I look at their season statistics. You know, in terms of wins and losses, it didn't translate. But, you know, there's some things that are real positive here. I mean, they shoot almost 30% from three-point range. That's respectable. 42% from the floor. You know, could be a little better, but it's not terrible. You know, there's some things they do well, and it's just a crazy year for a lot of teams. I mean, so many, are we playing, are we not playing, and you know, and everybody had to deal with that. But when you have a younger team, I think maybe it can be a little harder to deal with just because it's so out of what they're used to.
Right, you know, and a lot
and
of
the maturity isn't there, and the cohesiveness.
In some situations, they've never been there before. And talking with Coach Pashota after the University of Northwestern Ohio game, they were up 17 points or 19 points. Then they give up that lead, goes down to 3. And Coach said, look, we haven't played it in that spot before.
Right.
We don't know what to do, basically.
Don't know what it's like to be the hunted.
Right. You know, we're breaking full court presses. We haven't seen that all year. But, you know, looking at their schedule, they competed with the middle of the conference lost a few really close games, you know, and they lost big to the upper teams in
Sure.
the league. Indiana Tech, Cornerstone, you know, they kind of had their way with the Saints, but you looked at a loss to Lawrence Tech by 6, Aquinas by 10, Rochester by 2, and Concordia by 8.
And you know, they had a couple games canceled that we don't know. You know, they had a game canceled against Lords and a game canceled against Madonna. So maybe those would have been wins. We don't know. So if they'd got a couple more wins, you know, you feel a little better heading into the offseason. Well, are they in the tournament?
No.
No. Okay, I wasn't sure
Yeah,
how
they
that all was
missed out.
working this year, if everybody was in or not. So
But yeah, to kind of, you know, just put a bow on it, Coach Pachota's been nothing but positive when he's talked to us. And everyone realizes, and you see it on the roster, they're young, they're inexperienced. I will give, speaking of young, not inexperienced, but he had to play a lot, is Jacob Del Monte from Britton Deerfield
Mhm.
High School. He
Mhm.
played a lot last night, and I thought played really tough defensively all around the ball to, you know, maybe earn some time next year. And that's what a lot of these games were. You know, you know about Kevin Rice, what he can do. Who are the other 4? You know, who's the point guard for this team? Who's going to be that 2 guard? A lot of things to look at in the offseason, but you can't dismiss the record of 2-10. I know Saints fans are disappointed in that.
Sure. I'm sure the coaches and players are disappointed as well.
But yeah, that's
No one goes into a season and says, "Boy, if we go 2-10, we're going to feel really good about that."
no.
You know, and they're competitive, and they'll go to work, and coaches will be recruiting, and they'll bring in some guys they think that can help the squad be better next year and going forward. And you know, everybody's going to roll up their sleeves and get to work.
And that team is getting taller too, by the way, which is good to see. You're
Well, sure.
seeing some 6'5" guards. Aiden Wright, 6'5". London Guillory, who's a freshman, he's 6'6".
Sure.
So you can't really coach height.
No.
So
and
it's
and
good to get
length
some
on
height.
defense. I mean, you know,
Yes.
those arms are spread apart. You know, you want to cover the floor with your arms.
Now to the team that is still playing, they have a postseason berth. The Siena Heights women's team. They lost last night to number 9 Indiana Tech at the Fieldhouse. It was Kelsey Wyman leading the Saints in scoring. She led all scorers with 15 points. Did Kelsey 10 of those in the first half. Siena finishes the regular season 9-4 in the WAC, 12-5 on the year. Indiana Tech, they end 11-1 in the WAC. They played 25 games, 23-2 on their season. Now the Warriors played good defense early on. Saints missed some easy type shots. You know, some were contested, but they were in tight. You know, they were getting the ball down low. And in the spot where the Saints normally score, it wasn't falling, at least in the first quarter. They were stuck on 3 points for about 7 minutes of that first quarter until they would score the second basket. But boy, a tough game.
Yeah.
And you know, both teams position-wise in the league, they weren't playing for anything. Siena was going to be the 3 seed. Indiana Tech was going to be the 2. Just playing for pride. You know, Tech beat the Saints last time out. Siena came back and almost won the game, but they could not. So they were playing for pride, and it was a rough night shooting, and that's exactly the title on the article. Saints shooting struggles plague them in a loss. And you shot 27% from the floor. And Fred said it in the broadcast. You're not going to win games shooting 27%.
No, not unless the other team shoots worse. That's about the only way.
And that's a game we wouldn't want to broadcast.
That
that's
would
rough.
be no fun. If neither team can make baskets, it's not much fun to broadcast or to listen to.
No. But, yeah, Indiana Tech, they weren't outstanding shooting either. They were 39% to Siena's 27%. But it was like, I don't know, it was a weird night. It was weird to see firsthand. You
And
know,
sometimes when there's nothing to play for. Seeding is set in your conference tournament. I mean, Indiana Tech had already beaten Siena once, so I guess maybe Siena had that to play for to, get a little measure of revenge. But it's hard sometimes when, the season is basically set, the playoffs are basically set. You're playing not to get anybody hurt. You're playing to maybe not show anything going into the tournament.
Yeah, the only thing it really could have done is if you want an at-large bid and you don't think
Right.
you have enough,
Right.
a win over number 9
Helps.
would give you a resume boost.
Sure. So they play Thursday night, correct, at home?
Yep, the game will be Thursday night, scheduled for 7:30 against Aquinas.
And will we have that on the cave?
That's the intent.
That's the intent. Will you be on the call?
I will.
Okay.
And Fred Smith too.
Okay.
So if that changes, we'll let you know tomorrow. But
Are they
today.
allowing spectators or limited spectators?
they had limited their last night.
Okay.
I don't know about tournament rules.
Okay.
Those might be
a
different.
conference dictates that. We'll update you on that too as we find out. And if you can't go to the game, you can hear it right here on 96.5 The Cave.
Yep, sounds good to me. So the regular season wraps up for both basketball programs at Siena Heights. The women have more to do, as like we said, they'll play Thursday night in the first round of the WAC tournament. If they win that, they likely will go to Fort Wayne to play the Indiana Tech Warriors. So another shot at Indiana Tech.
Always tough to beat someone 3 times in a year.
That's right. That's right. On the other side of the break, we'll give our thoughts and give an update on Tiger Woods with the single vehicle rollover crash he was in yesterday. We'll talk about any updates we have on Tiger. Keep it right here inside the cave. Ian Wentz, John Roberts, till 9 o'clock. 7:51 on a Wednesday morning, February 24th. Ian Wendt, John Roberts inside the cave with you till 9, talking all things sports today. If you want to chime in on the conversation, Facebook, 965 The Cave, Twitter, at 965 The Cave. Email us, sports@965thecave.com. Also, phone number, you can call in at 517-265-4000.
And we're going to want you to call in the next hour when we have our trivia question.
Win yourself a car wash.
Yes.
One free and a chance to win a year-long membership for Maple City Auto Wash.
For unlimited car washes.
Unlimited.
Yes. And I've got the question already, Ian.
You do? All right.
I
Less
do.
homework for me to do.
Yes.
If you want to climb inside the cave yourself, we're streaming the show live today on YouTube. Lenawee Broadcasting Company on YouTube. You can find the link on our Facebook and on our Twitter. You can click that and climb inside the cave with us on another day that should be in the 40s here in Lenawee County. I got a friend in Tennessee. Talked to him yesterday. Yeah, it was sunny and 70 here today, and I go, oh really? Check this out. It was 44 degrees. The snow was melting. They go, yeah, it was 70 here. I go, yeah, but it was 44 here.
Yeah, and we're a lot further north.
Yeah, we saw the sun
Yes.
like all day.
I drove with my window down for a
Me
little
too.
bit yesterday.
I
Yeah.
I almost tweeted or put it on Facebook. I should have just tweeted it. Did anyone turn on the air conditioning today in their house?
I didn't.
So used to the cold, now that it's warm, you're like, what do I do? Anywho, last couple of minutes of this hour, the conversation will switch to national here. Tiger Woods in that car accident yesterday, single vehicle rollover, multiple injuries to his legs, specifically his right leg. They've gone through procedures. He's at the hospital in LA. Now, the question is, when he recovers, if the recovery goes well, is Tiger back on the course? I think that's the question. Now, if the surgeries don't go as planned or he doesn't quite recover right, then that's a different issue. We're not
Right.
saying that. We're assuming he's back. But speaking of back, this is a man that's had back surgeries,
Right.
had back issues. Now add in a right leg significant injury. John, do you think Tiger comes back and plays?
Not this year. I think eventually, yes. Even if it's on a limited basis where he plays the majors and maybe a handful of other tournaments for appearances and things like that. He's 45 years old. As you mentioned, Ian, he's had back surgery. Now this, just reading the article, open fractures where they had to take the covering off his muscles in his leg to relieve the pressure on the bones. The open fractures, that means the skin was broken, so
Risk of
not trying to be
infection.
too graphic here, but
Yeah, I know.
this is pretty
People are
bad.
sipping their coffee and we're talking about.
Yeah, he had to have a rod placed in his tibia and screws and pins in his foot and ankle. They had to remove the covering off his leg muscles to relieve the pressure on the bones because otherwise they would crush the bones. It's, phew, I wouldn't want to go through that.
No, shocking news in the sports world yesterday.
Yeah, it was all that was on
Yeah.
ESPN for a couple hours, really, until I think they felt like, yeah, we got to go to these basketball games.
Right, yeah. they're
And there's
playing
no new
games.
developments. I mean, he was in surgery, and obviously, if you and I talked during the break. The great thing is he's alive. That would have been
Yes.
tragic,
Oh.
obviously, if he had been a fatality, and that would be really almost
different
all
show
everybody
today.
would be talking about in the sports world today. So we're thankful for that. It does sound like he was going a little too fast for the area, and you and I also talked to. Yeah, we've all done that at some point in our life. We've
Yeah.
been going a little faster than maybe we should be.
And reading it's an accident-prone spot.
And yes, the other good thing that I took out of it is it appears from all the reports is, they checked for the odor of alcohol or other signs that he was under the influence of a substance, but did not find any. I think that would have been sad if that would have been the case. So I'm glad that they don't believe that to be the case.
Hour number 2 coming up inside the cave. I think he will play again.
I do too.
A guy that came off of a back surgery and
Yep.
played. Tiger's tough. He'll
Yeah.
recover.
He's going to want to show he can do it too.
That's right. He'll be back. And we'll be back. Keep it right here. Inside the Cave Sports Update coming up next.
Motor sales
We'll either be wrong or right.
Yeah. We'll correct.
And good morning. Oh, morning stretch.
Ugh.
Coffee, bagel,
Iced tea.
iced tea, sweet tea, whatever you start your morning with. I'm glad we're part of it. Ian Went, John Roberts inside the cave. Till 9 o'clock today, it's a big time hockey hour. We'll do our NHL top 10. And then we'll talk to hockey coaches at Adrian College, Adam Krug for the men, and Sean Skelly for the women. Talk about their most recent games and upcoming contest for the Bulldogs. And we start this hour, as we always do, with a sports update.
Now for an Inside the Cave sports update.
That's right. Lots going on in the world of sports, both locally and around the world last night. We're going to start it off with boys basketball. Some scores from last night. Madison 53, Morenci 44. Blissfield 63, Hillsdale 45. Clinton 56, Onstead 54, and a nail biter. Did a little digging last hour, Ian. Clinton was led by Tommy Burt. He scored 40 points last night of their 56. That's
40?
impressive. 40 points. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. Erie Mason 54, Britton Deerfield 41. Michigan Center 65, Addison 27. Sand Creek 57, Summerfield 51. Hanover Horton 75, Manchester 27. Saline 58, Ann Arbor Pioneer 34. Vandercook Lake 75, East Jackson 40. I'm going to pause right here now, Ian, because we do need to do the Maple City Auto Wash trivia question.
We're doing this right now.
Well, I'm going to put the question out there.
Oh, can I read the thing?
Yeah, go right ahead, because
Okay.
it's going to be in the update, the answer.
Oh, well then I'll read it later.
Okay, all right.
Do the update. We'll
All
see
right.
if people can remember.
Okay.
And then I'll read the thing.
Okay, but in the next couple stories in the update, you will hear the answer.
40 points. Is that it?
No.
Is it Baker Bash?
Nope.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Want me to go? Okay, girls basketball last night. Onstead 52, Clinton 8. Maya Hiram led the way for the Wildcats with 23 points and 12 rebounds. Kate Gorney and Kayla Ross chipped in 8 points each. Tecumseh and Madison went to overtime, and the Indians came out on top 39-31. Blissfield 62, Hillsdale 16. Saline 58, Ann Arbor Pioneer 34. Bedford 58, Ann Arbor Huron 28. Monroe 54, Ypsilanti 44. So that's our local and area boys and girls basketball scores. Excuse me.
Good game between Tecumseh and Madison.
Yes, yeah. I think Madison hit a late shot, if I remember what I read online, to send the game to overtime, and obviously the Indians had just a little too much for them in the overtime period. Last night, as we mentioned during the first hour, was the final night of the regular season for Siena Heights basketball. The men and women both losing to Indiana Tech. The women on the short end of a 55-37 score. The men lost 84-67. Women's coach Sue Siljebeck was frustrated that their top player wasn't a major factor offensively.
It's like we lost track of that we have Peyton on the team and only give her 6 shots. I mean, I had to beg them every time out. We're like, put the ball inside. Now, we knew they were going to double, and sure enough they did, and then she got it tied up. But we just have to understand that to get the ball inside sometimes, and especially to our top players. And sometimes our team, struggles with that, especially when Indiana Tech was trying to take her away.
That was Siena Heights women's coach Sue Siljebeck. And on the men's side, despite the loss by his young team, Coach Joe Pashota was upbeat.
I think we can definitely, grow from tonight. I thought we made good film, good teaching film, good focus film, moving forward into the spring, that's for sure.
More local stories. The difficult start to an abbreviated season continued for Lenawee United hockey team on Tuesday by virtue of a 9-1 loss at Bedford in an SEC crossover game at the Toledo Ice House. Lenawee was outshot 37-9 for the game and has suffered 6 consecutive losses to open the abbreviated season. So scoring seems to be a challenge and stopping the puck from going into the net. So that's not a good combo, but I'm sure they'll work hard and get that fixed. A couple more local sports scores stories that we dug up during the first hour. The Adrian High School wrestling team moved their record on the season to 8-0. They picked up a couple of SEC wins last night, 58-16 over Ypsilanti and 47-33 over Jackson. They had 6 wrestlers go 2-0 on the night. Angel Vasquez, Joey Spagnoli, Caden Holt, Isaiah Ware Marshall, Ramiro Guerrero Jr., and Connor Kruger. So great job by the Maple Wrestlers last night. And also Adrian Bowling versus Bedford. We want to thank the coaches for sending in that email. The girls defeated Bedford 25-5. Adriana Notek was the high bowler for the Maple Ladies with 207, Jada Robertson with a 184, Elena Alvarez 171, and Alicia Garcia with a 166. And on the boys' side, they were not as fortunate. They lost to Bedford 25-5, but the scores, Bedford must have bowled out of their mind reading the Maple scores. Xander Finkbeiner with a 224 and a 201, Hunter Davies with a 231, Landon Zick with a 217, and Kyle Newman with a 196. I mean, that seems like it would be tough to beat.
What was the score?
25-5. So, that, I mean, to me, those are impressive scores. So,
yeah.
We'll have to, that was something. Siena Heights kicks off their season this Saturday in football with a noon start at Dawson Field, taking on another ranked team, their nearest rival, Concordia of Michigan. Coach Matt Cohn tells us it is a bit strange to start the season this time of year, but they can't wait.
It is, you know, and we're very, very fortunate to be able to be playing football. You know, there are people across the country that didn't have this opportunity, so we're really excited to be able to go out and play this Saturday. Again, it's kind of weird timing, as you mentioned, but we're kind of past all that. We're past the weirdness. We're kind of grown accustomed to the weirdness a little bit, as everyone else has, and we're just really looking forward to getting back out on Doc Dawson Field.
Siena Heights comes in ranked 19th in the country. Concordia is slightly higher with a number 16 ranking, and you can hear that game right here on 96.5 The Cave. And you're doing that game?
Nope. Chris
Renwick
will
okay.
be on the call.
All right.
For those, and Doug Goodnow as well.
Okay.
For SHU.
Okay.
And keeping that gang together, it'll be a remote broadcast.
Oh, okay.
For that,
So
but
no one on site.
familiar voices bringing you Saints football
There
this
you
year.
go. There we go. MSU men's basketball may have saved its possible NCAA tournament bid with an upset win last night over number 4 or number 5, depending on the poll, Illinois. Aaron Henry scored 20 points and Josh Langford added 15 and had a career-high 16 rebounds to lead Michigan State to an 81-72 win over the Fighting Illini. The Spartans earned a desperately needed quality win to bolster their chances on playing 23 straight NCAA tournaments. The Illini had won a Big Ten best 7 straight games, putting them in contention for a number 1 seed in college basketball showcase that starts next month. The Pistons snapped a 3-game losing streak with a 105-93 win over the Orlando Magic. Detroit, which has the NBA worst road record of 3-14, won for the first time since February 14th. And the Nashville Predators, a 2-0 victory over the Detroit Red Wings. And as we mentioned in the first hour, Tiger Woods in a severe auto accident and multiple surgeries going on for multiple fractures, and he's on the road hopefully to recovery, and I don't know that we'll see him golf again in 2021, but hopefully in 2022 Tiger will be back on the course. And that's the update, Ian.
All right, some good stuff, always keeping us informed. A huge performance out in Clinton, as you mentioned, one player scoring 40. That's a big night. And
That is.
Clinton off to a good start this year in boys hoops.
Yeah, 4-2 on the season, so good start for the Clinton boys basketball program.
Yeah, they're new to the conference too.
Yes.
LCAA.
Yeah,
So
first back in the LCAA after being in the Tri-County Conference for a few years. So Trivia question time.
All right, here we go. Today's trivia question is being brought to you by Maple City Auto Wash on Main Street next to Speedway Gas Station in Adrian. First correct answer will receive a free car wash. The contest will be running every week on 96.5 The Cave and every other week on 103.9 WLEN until November 2021. All winners from both stations will be entered for a chance to win a free 1-year membership for unlimited car washes, 1 winner per station per year. So get your chance at a free membership and you will win a free car wash if you call in the right answer. 265-4000, 517-265-4000. John, you have our question.
I do. And I mentioned this, gave the answer during the update. The Adrian High School wrestling team is off to an undefeated start so far to their season. What is their record as of last night's 2 victories in their SEC match?
Maple Wrestling undefeated.
But
What's
what is
the
their
record?
record? How many have they won? How many matches?
517-265-4000 is the number to call in. We'll pick up the phone, get you on the air, give us the answer, and there we go. We're off and running. We do have hopefully a winner on the line. John, we go to the phones. Good morning. You're on Inside the Cave. Do you have the answer for the trivia question?
That is correct. They are 8-0 at this point in the season.
All right. So, got the free car wash in the books. Caller, can I get your first name and where you're calling in from?
This is Jason. I'm calling from Adrian.
Jason in Adrian. All right. Well, Jason, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll get the information that we need from you to get you that free car wash. Thanks for listening, and congrats on the free car wash.
Yep, go Maples.
That's right. Go Maples indeed. So we'll talk to Jason on the line here in just a moment. Today's trivia has been brought to you by Maple City Auto Wash, home of the best free vacuums and carpet mat cleaners. Be sure to check out their membership packages for big savings and great deals on gift cards for all occasions. Who doesn't love a clean car? Maple City Auto Wash. Get your vehicle clean, dry, and shiny every time. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with our NHL Top 10 Inside the Cave.
Insurance. Who needs it? We all do.
We are back inside the cave. A big congratulations to Jason from Adrian. He's our Maple City Auto Wash trivia question winner for today. He gave the correct answer of the Maples wrestling record. They are 8-0 on the season, and John, a couple of SEC wins most recently.
Yes, up at Jackson last night and came away victorious over both Ypsilanti and Jackson. So good things so far for the Maple Wrestling program. You know, I'm sure some tougher matches lie ahead, but they're doing really well now, and I know they'll continue to work hard with Coach Conklin, and we'll try to get Coach Conklin in one of these days inside the cave and talk about the Maple Wrestling program.
And in that same vein, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in the last couple of years, Adrian started up a powerlifting program.
They have.
Do you think that translates to, you know, a team like the wrestling team?
I think probably with like a lot of schools that have strong wrestling programs, that certainly helps being solid in the weight room. And I also would guess that, you know, the Maple Youth Wrestling program, which has grown every year for a while now, some of those kids, we're starting to see some of those kids that started out in the early years with the high school program now. So that's good to see. Maple Wrestling has a really good tradition for many years, and you know, we're down for a little bit in terms of numbers, but the numbers are back up, and so they're having some success, and we hope they continue to have success.
Speaking of success, we turn our attention to hockey, and we'll be there for the next 40 minutes or so. We will get in our top 10 NHL teams as of right now this season. And, you know, something we have to consider, and I did a little bit, you know, points are important, you know, determine seeding, but a lot of these teams haven't played the same number of games, so maybe more opportunities for others or not. So we had some thinking to do. We kind of have to go through these relatively quickly here, John, but I'll have you start off. Can you give the people your 10 through 5?
10 through 5. All right. At number 10, the Winnipeg Jets. Number 9, Montreal Canadiens. Number 8, the Vegas Golden Knights. Number 7, the Chicago Blackhawks. Kind of a surprise team in there this year. And number 6, the Carolina Hurricanes. And number 5, the Boston Bruins.
I have Montreal at 10, still there at 22 points. St. Louis at 9, Washington at 8, Tampa down to 7, Chicago 6, Carolina at 5 on my list.
Okay. So we have some of the same teams.
Yeah.
Just maybe a slightly different order here and there.
Yeah. Again, it's weird. It's different than the NFL.
Right.
Because they all play usually in the one weekend.
Right.
Unless
right.
you're Pittsburgh, then your games get moved all around.
All around.
But yeah. All right. So 4 through 1.
4 through 1, I have Tampa Bay 4, the Florida Panthers 3. I think maybe their record is the beneficiary of playing the Red Wings a lot
that would
so
be
far
correct.
This year.
Yeah.
So we're not real sure how
and they
good
lost to them.
And they have.
Already,
yeah. Number 2, the Edmonton Oilers. And number 1, the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I have 3 of the same teams. I have Edmonton at 4, Florida at 3, same as you. Boston at 2. They're 11-3-2.
Yeah.
They lost pieces last year. No Chara, no Krug.
Yeah.
But Boston hanging in there. And I have Toronto at number 1. They've played the most games, I think, out of any of those. And they're playing solid hockey.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be something if the Maple Leafs won the Stanley Cup? They're the longest drought now in the NHL.
That would put a cap on 2020, 2021.
Yeah, I think it was the year I was born was the last time they won the Stanley Cup. So that's a 56-year drought. Almost 57.
Yikes. That's our top 10 in the National Hockey League. We keep those updated throughout the season. And we do that here inside the cave. Coming up after this break, we'll have Adrian College men's hockey coach for the NCAA Division III team, Adam Krug, joining us on the phone talking about Bulldog hockey. And then we'll continue with the Dogs to the women's side with Coach Sean Skelly to end the show today. Find us on social media, 965 The Cave. You can jump inside the cave, watch us on YouTube today. Lenawee Broadcasting Company. You can find the link in our social media. You can stream the show online, 965thecave.com. We'll be back with more Inside the Cave. Ian Went and JR.
Talk Sports. 96.5 The Cave.
And we're back inside the cave. Actually, we never left. Ian Went, John Roberts with you till 9 o'clock this morning. 8:25 on a Wednesday. That means it's time to talk Bulldog hockey. And on the phone line this morning, we have the men's D3 NCAA coach, Adam Krug. Good morning, Coach.
Morning, Ian. Little different day, being a game day today.
Yeah, it is. It is different. So the Lake Forest matchups that were scheduled for last week and postponed, but fortunate to get them scheduled. It's a nice job on your part at Lake Forest. They must have their COVID stuff figured out, and you're set to go at 4:30 today.
Yeah, 4:30, a rare afternoon weekday game. School's in session, just added to the list of firsts and weird things that we've had had to do to get games in. But we're excited to play. You know, having 10 days off between games, not always ideal, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to be an issue. I think we've got some healing bodies that are probably feeling better. And, you know, now we've got a whole bunch of hockey over the next few weeks going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I was just thinking, you know, that 10 days probably at this point in the season, all those bumps and bruises, gives them a chance to go away a little bit or at least heal more. And, you know, looking at the calendar, you do have quite a stretch going into the tournament, Coach.
Yeah, and we weren't super banged up, but, you know, the bumps and bruises are what takes a toll on you. And bumps and bruises are all that can heal at this point. You know, anything worse than that is just going to be something that either you're dealing with or, you know, you're going to be without that player. So definitely was nice to have that break, but it's a big stretch. And I think the next 4 games are basically going to tell us where we're going to be at the end of this thing. You know, we go 4-0, 3-1, probably in really, really good shape. If we go 2-2 or worse, we're probably not in great shape. But you know, Lake Forest today, they haven't played yet this year, so we've got to take advantage of that. But at the same time, I'm sure they're going to be firing on all cylinders. You know, from an energy standpoint, ready to go.
Yeah, the nice thing is you have them here as opposed to in their barn, and you know, they probably would be even more fired up opening up at home.
Yeah, probably. I mean, unfortunately for them, there's no fans at this point in Illinois, but you know, for us, we'll take them on home ice. We love playing at Harrington, and we do go there on Tuesday next week. But regardless, you know, it's just one of those things. Just take care of business.
Coach Adam Kruger, the men's hockey team, joining us from Adrian College today. So you have the Foresters, and, you know, bring the fans back to last year where, you know, Coach, your team was in a bit of a slump, and the Foresters were a team that you were chasing and eventually did in a crazy comeback fashion. So, you know, what do you think their approach is to, you know, taking on you guys? I mean, there's got to be a chip on the shoulder.
Yeah, I think there is. I think they realize that we kind of flipped everything last year on them. You know, they're ranked number 6 in the country. You know, mid-February or early February, whatever the dates were there. You know, that really got us to the point where we felt great about our game going into the playoffs last year. So kind of similar situation, you know, all things considered. But this year, you know, maybe they're chasing us to an extent, and you know, I'm sure they're going to come in here and say, hey, let's remember last year we owe these guys.
And you know, looking at your team, Coach, you know, coming off the Marion series, I know we didn't get to really talk last week based on, you know, me flipping things around, but your team's really found their stride offensively, and you know, to get those 2 wins are huge for the team. You know, a team that, you know, you're probably going to see in all likelihood in the conference final in Marion without St. Norbert in there. How do you keep your guys, I guess, up after this layoff that you mentioned? It's been 10 days.
Well, I think the guys are still just appreciative to be playing, so I think they're up, they're ready to play. We've had some good practice. We've had a few days off too to kind of keep them fresh. But you know, I think that we are kind of right where we want to be. We found our groove offensively, like you said. I've been really happy with our team in the defensive zone. You know, you get Cam Gray back there, who's playing as good he's played in my 2 years of having him here. You know, you just look at everything combined, and about as good as you could ask. So we just got to stay the course. You know, we've got depth right now. We've got two first lines really that are scoring. You got a power play that's clicking. You know, really the only thing that I'd like to see do a little bit better would be the penalty kill. And the penalty kill hasn't been bad. I think we're at 86%, something like that. But over the last few weeks, you know, I think we've given up a couple of goals that we wish we could have back.
Well, and probably a little easier, Coach, to come to practice during this layoff on the heels of a 5-game winning streak.
Yeah, no, it's different when you're on the wrong side of the score sheet, but yeah, that's a great point. It certainly is easy. It's fun. I think the guys are having fun. I think the coaches are having fun. We really enjoy each other's company when things are going good. I'll tell you that.
Well, that's so critical to have a positive locker room, and as you mentioned, it is easier when you are winning. And so that's good to hear that they're staying upbeat and they're staying close, and you want that close knit atmosphere in your locker room for sure.
Yeah, well, it's going into the playoffs too. Even though it doesn't seem like the playoffs should be here yet, it's really right around the corner. We have 2 weeks. So I think, the guys kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. They feel a sense of accomplishment as far as getting here through a crazy COVID year. But, I think that they're excited just to play really meaningful games.
And Coach, looking at some raw numbers here, some hard stats, talking about your Bulldog team. We're going to get serious here for a minute. Two of the best, if not the best defenders in D3 hockey. I can say it. You probably won't. Just to be a humble guy, but Joshua Owings and Matt Eller, they are plus 11 and plus 10, plus minus. They don't give you a ton of points combined. They have 6 on the year, but they're out there when goals are scored and they're not giving up any. What's it been like having those two guys back there on defense?
Well, just to have that reliability, I think, is what's most important when it comes to having those two guys. Every team needs guys like those, and I don't think every team has guys like those. They can play anywhere from 16 minutes to 24 minutes, depending on the type of game. And then just the locker room leadership is second to none too. Both of those guys do a great job. Matt Eller's really cool, calm, collected all the time. Kind of the guy in the locker room that's he's just like a dad figure really for the guys. And Josh, Josh is a pretty neat kid, like really cool, and I think guys gravitate to him off the ice and on the ice. Kind of he has that carefree attitude, but in a good way. Works hard and takes care of his business. So you get two guys like that anchoring your blue line. You're going to be pretty in pretty good shape.
I know it might be a little early to talk about this, Coach, but looking at the seniors on your roster, and I know the NCAA has, given them an extra year. Do you know if guys like Owings are considering maybe another year?
Yeah, well, I don't think Josh is. We've had that meeting. We've had that conversation. We've actually got senior night coming up on Saturday, March 6th against Trine. Josh and I have had that conversation, and just school-wise, it doesn't make much sense for him to come back. So, we'll miss him in that regard. But, our other guys, on the other hand, I think are in a different scenario. Matt Eller was on pace to graduate early, 3 years, but he kind of took a lecture course load just to kind of space it out. And he does want to come back next year. And Cam Gray's another one who, athletic eligibility wise, like he's been in college hockey for 4 years, 2 years in Division I St. Lawrence, and 2 years here, but kind of had a redshirt year in his back pocket as he didn't play at St. Lawrence very much. So he was kind of in good shape there. And all things considered, I think not having an NCAA tournament really put guys like Matt and Cam in the mindset that they want to come back and take care of business next year. So, we've kind of gotten a soft commitment from Matt and Cam to be back, and we'll take that for sure.
Adrian College men's hockey coach Adam Kruger joining us inside the cave today. The Foresters of Lake Forest come to town. About a 4:30 puck drop, a late schedule addition due to COVID concerns with the Foresters. What's something that this team can do to maybe frustrate you guys?
Yeah, I don't know right now.
Not a lot of film, right?
Not a lot of film.
Not a lot. They've got some good players, good goaltenders. So if we run into a hot goalie, maybe that's something. The Aaron O'Neill, number 24, probably their best player. When you look at their group that graduated, you certainly wish he was one of the guys that took off. But it's fun to play the league's best or the country's best, and Aaron's one of those guys. So we'll have our hands full with him, but we got to just go out and take care of business ourselves.
And speaking of yourself, you talked about the penalty kill. I mean, 86%. Most parents would accept that from their student. But anything else that you want to look for from the bench? I know you got off to a slow start game 1 against Marion, picked it up in game 2. What'll be the difference for your Bulldog team?
Probably the increased capacity at Arrington Ice Arena. We moved it up to 250 fans going forward, so it'll be nice to look across the sheet of ice and see some more fans in the building. So that'll be nice. But no, in all seriousness, I just think that we're just trying to stay the course here. Like, maybe we like to see some more depth scoring. We have depth, like guys that we trust to go out and play a lot of minutes and that kind of thing. But we've really had most of our scoring coming from the Ruffin line and Blue Candy line. So I think to maybe get the third or a fourth line going, just get those guys in the score sheet. And you don't need that kind of scoring from those guys, but just have the odd goal here or there, maybe a goal a game from your bottom 6, so to speak. The Trevor Coy Kendall line, the Zach Oberis line. And there's guys on those lines that can score goals. So it's going to come. It just hasn't in the last couple of weeks. But I'm not too concerned about it.
Well, and I got to imagine, Coach, that picking up goals from that third and fourth line becomes so critical in the playoffs, because most teams probably have pretty good top 2 lines that are in the playoffs.
Yeah, and that has happened, for us over the years. Even last year, like Grant Bateson, who's typically been a third, fourth liner, got the opportunity to step up and play on our second line last year in the playoffs, and he made a couple of plays. He gave an assist in the championship game, and had a goal or two on the way through the quarterfinals, semifinals. So there's always somebody that steps up. Like you look at some of those guys, some of them are right on the cusp of breaking out. So I think it's just a matter of opportunity and time.
3 games this week for the Bulldogs. You have Lake Forest tonight, this afternoon at 4:30. And then you stay at the Arrington for a Friday, Saturday games against Aurora University. The Spartans come to town Friday night at 7. Saturday afternoon at 3. We'll have the 3 o'clock game here on the Cave, part of a doubleheader with the women playing at 7. Spartans are, from what I've seen, a pesty hockey team. They're not really glamorous and high flying, but they play with heart.
Yeah, no, they play real hard. We'll have our hands full with them, and really, I figured that they'd be the team kind of to beat in their division outside of us. So, right now they're in first place. We've got 2 games in hand, and we're a win behind them. So we take care of business tonight. We'll be 1 game in hand and be tied with them. So we are in the driver's seat, which is great, but they're an up and coming team. Big, strong team, physical. They have skill. They kind of do everything. To your point, it's not super glamorous, but they give you everything you can ask for. Last year in the playoffs, we had a couple of tight games. Friday night, we beat them kind of handily, and then Saturday, I think we were down a little bit and had to come from behind. And as you know, because you went on the road with us to Aurora last year, a couple of close games there. I think we beat them by a pair of goals most of our meetings, but I think a lot of those times it was a 1-goal game and we scored an empty netter at some point.
All right, all at a time with your coach, Adam Krug from the Adrian College Men's NCAA D3 hockey program. Thanks as always. Looking forward to having you and Coach Skelly in the studio. I think every week we get closer and closer to that reality. But as always, we appreciate your time, Coach.
Thanks, Jim. We'll see you Saturday.
All right, yeah, sounds good.
Good luck this afternoon.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
All right, there you have it. Adrian College men's hockey coach Adam Krug, the women's coach Sean Skelly. He's coming up right after this. We'll take a commercial break. We'll get the Spartan Sports Brief, the Michigan Sports Brief, coming up in this commercial set. Afterwards, talking more Bulldog hockey as the ladies, they're on a 19-game winning streak. We'll talk about that and more with Coach Skelly right after this.
I didn't realize it
We welcome you back inside the cave. 8:48 on a Wednesday morning, February 24th. I'm Ian Wendt, joined in the studio by John Roberts and joined on the phone by Adrian College women's hockey coach Sean Skelly. Morning, Coach.
Morning, fellas.
Morning, Coach.
Beautiful second day in a row that's going to be over 40 degrees. You got to be pumped about that.
Pumped. Hey, both of us drove with our windows down yesterday.
Wow. You know what? I cracked the windows on the way home. I'll join that one.
True Michiganders driving with the window down on a 40-degree day in February.
Get that fresh weather going against your hair.
No, you don't. Man, it's good to talk to you, and it's even better to talk to you, Coach, after a win, after a couple. So, going up against the Foresters of Lake Forest, Saturday, Sunday, Denisa Yandova shuts them out again. A 4-0 and a 2-0 win. I know you want more goals, but you have to be happy with the weekend.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously it was finally fantastic to play a different opponent for a little bit of a change.
Yeah.
They've kind of been a little bit of a thorn in our side over the last couple of years during the regular season, and we made note of that earlier in the week, and just said it's time to focus here. Let's change the narrative. Don't give anything up. We played really good team defense, both games. Obviously, Denise played well when needed. And our offense was found at the right time. Yeah, scoring 6 goals over the weekend compared to some of the other ones we've had in the past was a little less in the production side, but to give up nothing all weekend was something that I'm very pleased with.
And speaking of giving up nothing, I know you probably don't want to revisit this moment, but since the scrimmage with the ACHA Women's Division I team on the 23rd of January, your team's given up 3 goals in totality in the games to follow. I mean, you got to be impressed.
Yeah, no, like you go back to that game, and it's something that you'll remember this season, and for us, a sour note in our sour taste in our mouth, and I think we changed our game a little bit right after that, and started a little bit more commitment to team defense, and it's worked. Hopefully that continues here as we move to the end of the regular season and into playoffs.
And, your team is just on an insane winning streak, Coach, tying a program record this weekend with 19 straight wins. It's out there. Is that something you keep quiet in the locker room, or you acknowledge it and move on?
Yeah, I mean, I think now, to be honest, I had no idea until it was tweeted on the way home on Sunday evening. I didn't even realize it, just because we played these exhibition games and these Division I games. You totally forgot those don't count, and we've won every Division III game we have for, again, the last 19, which is an incredible feat. Should we talk about it? No. I think we just continue to work at what's right in front of us, and now it's Shrine on Friday night. What is this game 5, game 6? I don't even know at this point how many times we've played them. But another opportunity for our team to get better and hopefully keep a 0 on that loss record.
Coach, looking back at last weekend's action, a pretty good weekend for Jessica Van Ruden. 3 goals on the weekend. Can you talk a little bit about her scoring touch lately?
Yeah, she's a player that from day one when she stepped on campus and when I watched her a handful of years ago, I was like, this girl's special. Has the ability to really take over a game at any point. I don't even think she's tapped into her full potential yet, and she could be somebody that puts up 30+ goals a year. She has a shot that not many women in college hockey have, and now she's finally taken that extra step right now to be a leader both on and off the ice. On the ice, she's really taken a step over the last couple of weeks. and this weekend, yeah, just she puts her head down and works so hard all the time, and it's a pleasure to watch. And it's great to see like some of that success happen for somebody that puts in so much work.
You know, home and home with Trine University coming up this weekend, Friday on the road, Saturday at home, part 2 of our doubleheader on the Cave, 7 o'clock. Coach, real quick, we're sort of running out of time, but you said you had something to talk to us about in terms of postseason.
Yeah, I would talk to Steve Barkley about kind of the restructure of our playoffs, and you know the highest seed would host a 1-game quarterfinal midweek here in 3 weeks from now, and then move on to host a 2-game plus a mini for semifinal, which is unique that we all know has not happened in the past, and then to get to host the final is now, like we talked off air, State Scholastica has the potential to go 8-0, just like we do. The tiebreaker to host the Scholastica final is goal differential between conference opponents. And currently, St. Scholastica is winning with 23, and we are trailing by 2 with 21.
Huh.
And you're playing different opponents, right?
And
I
we're
mean,
playing different opponents. Yeah, it's a very interesting situation. Not too happy about it. I feel like that's something that I'm gonna be really upset if we go 8-0 and move through quarterfinals and semis, and then all of a sudden we didn't score enough goals during our 8 games, even though we won 8-0, and we have to go on the road for the finals. But again, we're in this crazy year, and that's, I guess, the cards that we're dealt. So I got to tell our team we got to score a ton of goals over our next 3 conference games and not give any up.
that's right. Keep it going, and there's certainly opportunity against Trine this weekend, and Aurora coming up on March 6th. The final 3 conference games for you, Coach. AC women's hockey coach for NCAA D3, Sean Skelly, joining us inside the Cave. Coach, thanks for your time, and good luck this weekend.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it, and Ian, we'll see you on the call Saturday night.
All right, sounds good, Sean. Thanks.
Good luck, Coach.
And that's going to do it for Inside the Cave today. I'll be back tomorrow morning with Chuck Moran from 7 until 9. So keep it tuned in. Local, state, national sports, it's all here inside the Cave. Have a great morning. Later.